Good morning, children. Other than animals like dogs, cats, cows, and other small and big animals, you must have observed some flying animals around your place. We hear them all the time chirping from one branch to another. These are birds. Birds are indispensable part of nature. Means it is not possible to be without them. They are very important part of nature. They provide color to the nature and are an integral part of the food chain. So children, today we are going to study chapter 6, Birds are feathered friends. In what sense birds are our friends? Let's read this chapter and find out more about them. Birds are animals with feathers. They have wings, but not all birds use them to fly. They have a backbone. Female birds lay eggs. Birds use their beaks and claws to catch, hold, and eat their food. So, this is the structure of a bird. Birds are animals with feathers, they have got wings, but there are some birds which do not fly. Like ostrich, it is a flightless bird. So, not all the birds use their wings for flying. They have a backbone like us. They lay eggs. Instead of giving birth to babies, they lay eggs. They use their beaks and claws to catch, hold, and eat their food. There are some characteristics of birds which are mentioned below. Let's read them. Birds have a streamlined body. This shape helps it to cut through the air. So, you must have seen the shape of the bird. It is broader in the middle and narrower at the ends. This is called as a streamlined body. And this streamlined body helps it to cut through the air and fly smoothly in the sky. Second, a bird has a very light body made up of hollow bones and thin plates. So, hollow bones makes the body of the bird light, which helps it to fly high. Third, the wings are attached to the body with the help of powerful muscles, and these wings helps the bird to fly high in the sky. Fourth point, wings are covered with different types of feathers. So, there are different types of feathers which are attached to the body of a bird. We will discuss these different types of feathers in detail later on in the chapter. Fifth point, a bird's tail helps it to change its direction while flying. So, the function of tail is to help the bird in changing the direction. Let's move on. Beaks. Birds do not have teeth. They eat with the help of their beaks. Different birds have different kinds of beaks. Birds may use their beaks to carry grass, twigs, and other things to make their nest. So, this is the function of beak. It is used for picking up things, for eating, and for making their nest. They do not have teeth. This is a very important point, children. Let's move on. A parrot has a strong curved beak which helps it to crack open nuts and seeds. A sparrow, a pigeon, and a peacock have a short beak to pick up and crush seeds. A duck has a broad flat beak. It scoops the muddy water. The mud and the water flows out through the holes on the sides. The little plants and insects from the muddy water stays inside the beak for the duck to eat. A hummingbird's beak is like a drinking straw. It is a long hollow tube. A hummingbird sticks its long beak deep into a flower and sips the nectar. Eagles, vultures, and owls kill small animals. They have strong, sharp, hooked beak to tear up the flesh. A heron eats fish. It has a long, pointed beak like a spear. It pokes the fish with its beak and lifts it out of the water. A woodpecker taps the bark of a tree with its sharp pointed beak. It makes a hole in the bark to pull out insects to eat. Its bill is like a chisel. So children, birds have different types of beaks because it is a part of their adaptation to their habitat, the place where they live, and nutrition, that is what they eat. The main function of beak is it acts as a tool for eating. So most birds have beaks that are specially useful for their specific diet. For example, sparrows, pigeons and peacocks, they have very short beak so that they can easily pick up the seeds and crush them. Similarly, ducks' broad flat beaks acts as a strainer which filters out all the mud and water, leaving the fish and tiny plants inside the mouth itself for the bird to feed on. Now strainer is a kind of thing using which we strain the tea. The tea goes down into the cup and all the spices and tea leaf, all that thing remain up in the strainer. So duck's broad beak acts as a strainer which filters out all the mud and water, leaving the fish and tiny plants in the mouth itself for the bird to feed on. Similarly, hummingbirds, they have a very long, thin and slightly curved beak which is just perfect for reaching the nectar inside the flower. What is nectar? Nectar is a flower juice. Children, most of the carnivorous birds like eagles, vultures, they all feed on small animals like rats and other small animals. They have very strong beaks with a long, sharp upper tip which points downward. Its function is similar to a hook, letting the bird tear the flesh of the prey. Woodpeckers have extra strong, sharp and pointed beak. This beak is also called as bill. Children, here there is a sentence. Its bill is like a chisel. Now children, bill is a synonym word for beak. Beak and bill are same. And chisel, it is a kind of sharp tool which is used to give shape to a piece of wood. So woodpecker's beak is like a chisel which skillfully drills into the bark of the tree, helping it to pull out the insects which are crawling between the bark. What is a bark? Bark is the outer hard brown colored covering on the tree. And herons, they have long pointed beak which is like a spear. Spear is like a sword with which in olden days the kings used to fight. So its beak is like a spear which pokes the fish and other small animals living in the water. Let's see what is given in the did you know box. There are birds that cannot fly. These are called flightless birds, for example, emu and ostrich. So, we already know that there are some birds which do not use their wings for flying. Such birds are called as flightless birds. Some of the examples are emu and ostrich. Next is movement of wings. The wings of a bird flaps up and down while flying for movement. The wings have two types of movements, upstroke and downstroke. What is upstroke? In upstroke movement, the wings move upward and backward. And in downstroke movement, the wings move downward and forward. Next is feathers. Birds have three kinds of feathers. The body of a bird is covered with small feathers to keep it warm. These are called down feathers. Flight feathers are long and are attached to the wings and tail and help the bird to fly. Body feathers cover the rest of the body and give shape to the bird. So children, down feathers are small and soft feathers which keeps the body of the bird warm, whereas flight feathers are long. They are found on the wings and tail. It helps the bird to fly. Body feathers cover the rest of the body and they give shape to the bird. Next topic is feet and claws. Birds use their feet to sit on branches and their claws to catch and eat food, to protect themselves from their enemies and to move about. There are different types of claws. Birds have 2 to 4 toes on every foot. So children, birds have feet and claws. These feet are used for moving from one place to another place, and claws, they are basically used to catch and eat food and also to protect themselves from their enemies. Now there are different types of claws. Let's read about them. First, flesh-eating birds have strong and sharp claws called talons to hold their prey. Hawks and eagles are example. So children, here you can see in the picture, these are very strong and sharp claws which are called as talons, and these are basically designed to hold the prey. Like the eagle, it eats on rats and small little animals. So with these sharp claws, it can hold its prey and fly it away. And later on, it can use its claw to hold its prey tightly while it is feeding on the prey. Perching birds have 3 toes in the front and 1 at the back, which help the bird to hold on to a branch. Example, sparrows and crows. So here you can see a picture of a sparrow and you can see its feet. It has got 3 toes in front and 1 at the back, which help it to hold the branch very firmly while sitting. Next is scratching birds. Scratching birds have strong legs with sharp toes and hard claws, which help them to dig and find insects from the ground. For example, ostrich. So here you can see the picture of ostrich and its feet. It has got sharp toes and very hard claws. It helps them to dig and find insects which are deep under the ground. Let's move on. Climbing birds have toes that help them to climb trees and to cling onto them. Example, woodpecker and parakeets. So children, you can see the picture of a woodpecker and its feet, which is given in your book. It has 4 strong toes, 2 pointing forward and 2 at the backside with sharp claws. And these sharp claws enable them to cling upright to the bark of the tree trunks. Swimming birds have webbed feet. The web helps them to push water back while swimming. Example, duck. So children, here in this picture you can see the webbed feet. It has got a flap of skin between the toes, and this flap of skin helps them to push the water backside while they are swimming in the water. This type of feet is called as webbed feet. Wading birds can wade through muddy water without getting wet with their long and spread out toes. Example, crane and herons. Children, wading birds do not dive or swim in water. Rather, they wade, or you can say walk through into the shallow water to obtain food. Now children, wade means to walk with little difficulty because the water is muddy and it has got lots of weeds inside it. So they have to wade, means walk with little difficulty into the water to catch its food. Now their long legs, here in this picture you can see their long legs. Their long legs help keep their feathers high and dry, and the spread out toes keeps them from sinking into the soft mud in the water. And these toes also help them to balance over their long legs. Let's move on to the next topic, nests of birds. Birds build nests to lay eggs. They choose places which are safe from enemies and bad weathers. They use twigs, dry leaves, cotton, thread, feathers, pieces of cloth and pebbles to build their nests. Now let's see what is given here in Did You Know box. A cuckoo, quail, does not make a nest. It lays its eggs in a crow's nest and lets the mother crow look after the baby cuckoo. So cuckoo bird does not make any nest. It lays its egg in the nest of a crow. The tailor bird uses its beak like a needle to sew leaves with materials like thread and wool. The nest is made with cotton, wool and dry grass. So children, you can see here the tailor bird, it uses its beak like a needle and it literally sews like a tailor. The tailor uses needle and thread to sew the pieces of cloth. Similarly, tailor bird also uses its beak to sew the leaves to make its nest. The weaver bird makes a beautiful and strong nest by weaving twigs and grass together. So a weaver bird makes its nest using twigs and grasses. The eagle and vulture makes nest by putting a few sticks together in the shape of a shallow cup. The woodpecker makes a hole in a tree trunk by pecking it and then lines the hole with chips of wood. The penguin makes its nest by collecting a few pebbles and stones on the ground. Caring for the young. The mother bird keeps her eggs warm by sitting on them. When the eggs hatch, the chicks come out and the father bird protects them from enemies. The chicks are weak and featherless. The parents feed them and keep them warm. When the babies grow, they learn to fly and find food on their own. Then they leave the nest. So children, like your parents look after you, similarly the birds, they also look after their young ones. They keep the eggs warm, and when the eggs hatch, when the eggs break, they feed the babies and ensure their security from the enemies. Did you know? Ostrich is the largest bird and the heaviest bird. It cannot fly, but it can run at the speed of 70 km per hour. So, as the ostrich's body is very heavy, it cannot fly, but because of its strong feet, it can run up to the speed of 70 km per hour. So children, reading and explanation of this chapter is done. Let's move on to the exercises. Question number A. tick the correct answer. Now for each question, 3 options are given. We have to tick the correct option. Question number 1. These birds have strong, sharp and hooked beaks. A. Eagles, vultures and sparrows. B. Vultures, kites, pigeons. C. Eagles, vultures and kites. We know that strong, sharp and hooked beaks are found in carnivorous birds which feed on small animals. So, option number C is the correct answer. Eagles, vultures and kites have strong, sharp and hooked beaks. Question number 2. This bird uses its beak like a needle to sew leaves with materials like thread and wool. Weaver bird, tailor bird or woodpecker. So answer is tailor bird. Tailor bird uses its beak like a needle. Third, a bird's body is covered with down feathers, body feathers or flight feathers. So it is covered with down feathers. Question number B. Write the correct answers. Question number 1. Sharp claws of flesh-eating birds. So they are called as talons. Second, they cover the bird's body and wings. So that is body feathers. Third, part of the body that helps the bird to fly. So it is wings. Fourth, part of the body that helps a bird to feed itself. So the answer will be beak. Question number C. Give 2 examples of each. First, birds with short, hard and horny beaks. So out of sparrow, pigeon and peacock, you can write any 2. Second, birds with strong, sharp and hooked beaks. Eagles, owls, vultures. You can write any 2 examples out of these birds. Third, birds with broad and flat beak. Duck, swan. Question number D. Answer the following questions. Question number 1. How is a duck's beak different from that of a sparrow? Answer. A duck has a broad flat beak to scoop the muddy water, whereas a sparrow has short beak to pick up and crush seeds. Question number 2. What is the use of a chisel-shaped beak in a woodpecker? Answer. A woodpecker taps the bark of a tree with its chisel-shaped beak. It makes a hole in the bark to pull out insects to eat. Question number 3. How do the feet of perching birds help them? Answer. Perching birds have 3 toes in the front and 1 toe at the back, which helps the bird to hold on to a branch firmly. Question number 4. How do birds look after their babies? Answer. The birds' babies are weak and featherless. Birds feed their babies and keep them warm. When the babies grow, they learn to fly and find food on their own. Then they leave the nest. Next is HOTS. Discuss what would happen if, question number A, vultures and eagles had short and hard beaks. Now children, we all know that vultures and eagles are carnivorous birds with sharp, pointed and hooked beaks. But if vultures and eagles had short and hard beaks, then they wouldn't be able to feed on their prey. Rather, they would be reduced or forced to eat only seeds and nuts. Question number B. What would happen if the bones of the birds were not hollow? Answer. Hollow bones make the bird's body very light, thus enabling it to fly high. If the bones of the birds were not hollow, they would not be able to lift their body easily up in the air. Next is let's do. Collect feathers of different shapes, sizes and colors. Make greeting cards using these feathers. So children, this is one activity which you all have to do by yourself. You have to collect different feathers of different shapes, sizes and colors, and you have to make a greeting card using them. Next is life skills. Be kind and generous. First, make a bird bath. Take a flat earthen tray, fill it with water. Watch birds taking bath in it. So children, we have to make a bird bath in which just you have to take any earthen tray, any tray which is made up of clay, and you have to fill water and keep that thing in your garden or balcony and watch birds taking bath in it. Second, do not throw stones at birds to shoo them away. Children, all living beings are the creations of God. They are indispensable part of nature. So children, we should never throw stones at birds or other animals. Rather, we should be kind and generous towards them. So children, in this way, this entire chapter The reading, explanation, question and answer, book exercises, HOTS, everything is complete. Children, here I am providing you an activity where you have to match the bird with its food and you have to write the answer in the comment section. For extra practice, a worksheet is also provided. Now children, if in case you still have a problem regarding understanding of any particular concept, question, answer, anything, please write your query in the comment box. I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. All the best children.